When I owned and ran my beautiful pregnancy spa and wellness centre based in Auckland, New Zealand, my team of therapists and I were lucky and privileged enough to have worked with over 10,000 pregnant women, couples, new parents and families in the weeks coming up to and after birth. Over this time, however, I really noticed a theme happening. So many of the new mothers that I worked with were left shocked, overwhelmed and surprised by the changes that happened in their body after the birth of their baby. They were left reeling by things like breastfeeding difficulties, lack of milk supply, sore nipples, abdominal separation, perineal healing problems, C-section recovery, back pain, etc., etc. And often they felt completely unprepared to deal with these problems when they happened. So I wanted to jump on here today and give you my 4 top tips to ensure that you have a nourished, nurtured and healed postpartum, and that your body gets the absolutely best chance for healing after the birth of your baby. My first tip is prepare. Now, how many of us prepare for our birth? I know that I did. A birth plan, going to antenatal classes, reading all the books about birth that you can. But very, very rarely do we think about and prepare for the postpartum weeks in as much detail. I feel that this is just as important, if not more so. Your birth experience is one day of your life, maybe a bit longer if your birth is extended. But your postpartum is the first 6 to 12 weeks, or arguably even longer, up to the first year following birth. So preparing for your postpartum is just as important as your birth plan. That's one of the things that I do with the families that I work with, is help them create a postpartum plan, because if we don't plan and know where we want to be heading, then it's very difficult to know how to get there, right? So postpartum planning is key. The second one, my second tip, is rest. There's an enormous amount of healing happening in your body following the birth of your baby. Even if you had a normal vaginal birth, you still have the placental wound to heal, the place where the placenta was embedded into the uterus. There will be bleeding, there might be abrasions or tears. There could be, if you had an instrumental birth, there could be an episiotomy scar, perhaps a C-section scar. Your body goes into what's called a healing crisis following the birth in order to move quite rapidly from your pregnant to your non-pregnant state. And all of this is really benefited by taking time to deeply rest and restore and make sure that you're not overdoing it. Not only, of course, are you healing, but you've also got a job which you've never had before in your life, caring for a newborn baby 24/7. This is the only job that you're going to be on call for 24/7. And that means that you need to rest as much as possible in between your baby care activities. So rest is my second tip, I should say. My third tip, nourishment. You probably know that food is really, really important for the healing process. But what you might not know is that there are particular foods that are very much indicated to be good to have during the postpartum weeks. What you also might not know is that the digestive system is compromised by pregnancy and birth. And so there's certain foods that are not beneficial. And sometimes it's the ones that we think we should be eating, such as salads and smoothies. So I'll talk about this in another video, but as a postpartum nutrition coach, I work with families to set meal planning guides and make sure that they're having the foods that they need to eat, the ones that are going to help them heal, and to avoid the foods that will have the opposite effect. So being well nourished is my third tip, incredibly important for postpartum healing and recovery. My fourth tip, which is really key to the first 3, is that we can't do any of this. We can't plan, we can't rest, and we can't be correctly nourished without support. We need others to gather around us to support our healing journey by making sure that we have adequate rest, taking away our other responsibilities, feeding us these nourishing foods that are going to give us optimal nutrition, and helping to hold the space for us as we move into this important part of our lives. So support is key. They say it takes a village to raise a child. I'm very lucky to live in a village at the moment, but many of us don't. So creating your village, creating your support network is part of your planning process. And sometimes we have to think out of the box if we don't live already in a village or a supportive community. And again, I'll be talking about how to do that in other videos. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm so happy to share my 4 top tips for a healed postpartum with you. Prepare, rest, be nourished, and be supported. If you'd like to find out more, or if you'd like my help and guidance throughout your later stages of pregnancy and into the postpartum weeks, I'd love to be there to help you. If you visit my website, slowpostpartum.com, you'll see that I offer virtual coaching, in-person support, and a online course, a unique slow postpartum online course where together we can work through my 9 steps for you to have a wonderfully positive and blissful postpartum. And I'd love to be able to see you thrive, not just survive the weeks following the birth of your baby. Thanks so much for joining me here, and I look forward to chatting to you again soon.